I'm Elisa Mortensen, and this is UndoRedo.
Hello, hello. I have been meaning to set up a better recording equipment setup here with the camera, and I haven't got there yet. But it is fall of 2025, and some of you may know a little bit about me. I've been a contractor for so many years. I refinished furniture before that, and I own a painting business. I'm currently fitting in this fall painting the exterior of my parents' house. Now, I have not been painting because I've been coaching more, so that's been a fun thing to do again, where I haven't been doing it as often. And I'm going to Las Vegas. My oldest is moving from one place to another. My second son lives right nearby as well. It'll be so fun to spend the weekend together, enjoying each other's company. I'm really looking forward to that. A shout out also to amazing students and clients of mine who are working right alongside of me in growth and change, and we're all up and coming and learning. We're doing much more together than we could have apart, and we're becoming more capable every day in creating a better, more connected experience. It looks a little bit different to each of us. No two are the same, right? We're all crushing it. If you're a student or a client listening, you're gonna love today's episode because it's a recap and reminder about what you already know with some extra help and stories and tools. So today we're going to talk about something that's been on my mind. It's interesting to think like we all have human brains that respond in similar ways. I like to talk about things that we can foresee and maybe little foreshadowing into ourselves so we can plan a little bit better for the next times that it comes up with some growth and some expansion and some pre-decided, premeditated answers to some of our difficult situations. I think it's so fun to talk about how much more present we can be and aware of our reality and what's really happening in our lives, because so often we live unconsciously and undecided because we just do what we've always done in the moment. One of the frequent sentences that runs through our minds just as humans is one that wonders whether something is good enough or not, or if I'm doing too much. If you're a parent, you wonder, like, am I doing too much for my kid? Is this holding them back? Or if you're in your own life, like, am I doing enough? Should I be doing more? So we're going to be talking about how we second guess our efforts, the efforts we make in our own lives, in our own decisions, and for those we oversee and who we care for. We're going to kind of pull it apart today because the other day I pulled out a piece of paper and I wrote down some stuff about what it takes and what it looks like to have connection with someone that is good enough to change their behavior, get them to listen, have clear, open communication, and more peace in the relationship, where there's mutual understanding amidst many differing views. We don't have to have anybody agree with the way we're seeing anything. And here's how it goes in most cases for what I've seen. When leaders, whether at home or at work, are having the thought of any version of it's not good enough, or this needs to be better, or this isn't going to be enough to get me where I need to go. This isn't going to change anything. For example, one of the resources and skills that I teach is that you have everything you need right now, exactly what you need right now, in order to learn more, become better. Everything is good enough. And you hear your mind saying, no, that's not good enough yet. What's sad about that is the actions that will follow every time after having those kind of thoughts is a feeling of being deflated or unmotivated because we're telling ourselves that what they're doing is not enough and what I'm doing is not enough. And it just feels hopeless, sad. We become a little lethargic and frustrated. And what happens when we think those thoughts and we feel these type of emotions is, and I have said this so many times in coaching and in classes, but our thoughts end up as our results. You start to do less, and it gets harder to get any action and do anything enthusiastically because I am thinking whatever is happening just isn't enough. Therefore, we create not enough. And I know this is going to make sense to so many of you. The thing here that is hard for leaders to grasp is it's not the actions people are taking that aren't good enough. It's the thought that you have about it not being enough. Let me say that again. It's not that what people are doing isn't enough. It's that you have a thought about it not being enough. It creates all of our efforts together as a group and as a leader not being enough because of the heaviness, the misdirection that specific thought is giving all of us. So if you want or have listened to my last episode, you'll remember that in the emotions of heavy and hopeless and helpless and these types of intense emotions is that we don't have access to our higher ways of thinking. We don't have access to our inspirations. We don't have access to our creativity when we have the burdens of the negative emotions. It makes things much more difficult when we're in the doldrums and in the ruts and feeling terrible to then carry these negative thoughts with us as well. As you grow into guiding and leading people, it is so much easier to form a level of emotional adulthood, which means you can feel emotions coming on, you're able to hold them in your body and also operate within them in ways that still maintain connection, in ways that still are being self-directed, and to stay in that steadiness and that calm demeanor. And when you can do this as a leader in your home or at work, everyone can see how you become more reliable and more predictable, and they follow your example. They follow that energy. When you are feeling and thinking any form of it's not enough over an extended period of time, you make it so. And over time, you have more sadness and more defeat because of the lack in your body and in your actions that's coming from that thought. There is less connection that's happening. There's less cooperation from other people. It creates a state of less for everyone around you. It keeps you in scarcity to tell yourself every day that what you are doing is not enough and what they are doing is also not enough. These thoughts disconnect and divide us from our best versions of ourselves. We have found that when we believe that we are enough and that they are enough, then we do nothing less than that mindset. We are enough and they are enough. We live into whatever roller story we come up with. Now, that's one form of scarcity. This next form of scarcity I want to bring up is when you feel like you have to go bigger because you need the results sooner. That's another form of scarcity. You take the whole family on a crazy expensive vacation thinking that will bring connection from now on. Or you plan a huge office party or outing and buy elaborate gifts, and that will bring people into connection. This is a desperate attempt to manipulate them into putting more effort forward. And your grand efforts to impress them will somehow get them to appreciate you and get them to listen to you, and you'll gain their allegiance because now you're the hero. You've decided that all the little things that you could do every day just aren't enough. The behavior changes aren't as obvious to you. So you do less of those daily smaller actions. And your brain has sold you on the idea that going big into these grand actions to get grand results faster is better. And it's coming from a way of thinking that the result of their cooperation and the peace that comes from having a connected relationship is so far away, you must do the big thing. Like the end goal of having people love and cooperate with you and having the ideal connection is so far away, I have to do something so big to close that gap. Or you just can't get there. If you're seeing there's little to no substantial change in the things that you're doing every single day, that is being in insufficiency and in scarcity. What you're doing and what they're doing now just won't get you there. So if anything smaller is not enough, then you have to get their attention in big ways. And the only way to get the outcome that you want is to do the grand things, because the small things are ineffective. Thinking about the big thing that you're going to do one day becomes a pastime for you, and you wait around to have the big energy one day to do the really big thing. So you're not having these daily conversations and these daily communications. You're waiting to do the big grand thing, that one conversation at that meeting that you're going to have, or that one conversation when your son finally is ready to talk, instead of having the little tiny moments. And that's where it matters. Those are where the changes happen. By small things, big things come to pass. So what I want to point out here is doing all of that is more work. Doing all of the grand things and sitting around waiting to have the motivation and the energy to do the grand things is more work. There's more games involved in it with just interaction games. There's more disconnectedness, if that's even a word. Keeping it simple makes connection. Keeping it small, little tiny doses of little individual conversations daily over time that build that trust. What I guide clients to is a very specific evaluation. They take a look at the interactions they're having, what they sound like, and what factual feedback they get from each person. Not the stories we're telling about and filling in the blanks, the stuff that they're thinking, but the actual things they say and the actual feelings they're saying, and if they are letting you in on anything that's going on inside their world. That's the important part, listening to their experiences and going off their cues. This specific evaluation looks at their cues and it looks at your own. Did they say something that sets you off? Were you not able to be your best version? Did something come up that threw you off? Was there a strong objection that had you taken back? Like whatever it is, we plan for it. I have written out some interactions that I have had before, and I've dissected how it went and where I could change. And this is what I prompt everyone to do. If you're not getting the cooperation and collaboration out of them and you need some deep reflection, then this is where that happens. How much invitation did you have when you were talking? Were you able to invite them to finding a solution together? How much of that was happening in your conversation? How much perceived threat could be going on? Is there any pointing out to them everything they did wrong or everything they could have done better and not acknowledging what they are doing? There's a lot of learning and growth in there. We consider how you are seeing them in regards to if there's any judgment that you have, or you're seeing them in what they're lacking, or if you're not holding space for them to have another way of doing things that may work just as well. So all of this comes into play. And when we do this specific evaluation, we can clearly see that the obstacles that we have, we can plan for. And we can help them through the obstacles that they have and make a plan for them so that they can move forward without getting deflated as well, or showing up less than, or becoming inflated and doing too much on their own accord and not listening to, because that's the opposite. We either deflate and we don't do, or we inflate and we make ourselves better than somebody else. So I've noticed my brain do this. Here's an example with my health. I thought I needed to work out to the highest standard. I remember a time where I was so strict with my food intake. Like, I have to have the health that I really want, and I have to work out an hour plus a day. And I talked about my weight to everyone and what I ate and how hard my workouts were. And often I needed some sort of reassurance from somebody, and I couldn't stay consistent. So I looked outward for validation. I talked about my issues too much because I wasn't in control of what I was doing. Eating kind of good just wasn't good enough. And the 20-minute workouts weren't good for me. And that was just all coming from scarcity. And it would never be enough for me to get where I wanted to be. So I didn't do anything at all sometimes. So I talked about doing it all the time. And I got other people on board and thinking like, yeah, you should do that. But I didn't actually go work out to that degree or eat to that degree because it's unsustainable. That underaction for me was coming from scarcity. Another form of scarcity is it's not enough, so I have to do the big thing. And this is where we burn out. It's not sustainable, right? We never have that grand motivation to do the grand thing. So there's one more that's even sneakier. Your brain says it's all too much because you have a long list of what to do. So it starts to feel impossible for you. It starts to feel like it will take too long and there's too many actions between you and your results, so you just can't face it. And then you shut down. There are a lot of things you can do to navigate this until you learn how to be moderate in your emotions and overcome these deep scarcity tendencies. Because it's always the little things that make up the totality of any success. It's always been that way. It's never been the overcomplicated grandeur things that really get you to where you need to be. I have never known anyone to do one really good workout that changed their whole body, or eat one really clean meal that totally had them dropping all of their fat, or buy the one gift for someone that then they had their no relational complications ever since, right? It just doesn't happen. So it isn't this one episode and this one podcast, right, that's going to bring in all my clients or get you to have the changes in your life that you need either. As I grew in these areas, I'm able to take on more. And as I keep growing, I will be able to take on more. But for now, the small, tiny, consistent things are what makes the biggest difference. They get us the farthest. Now, let's talk about overactioning. So there's doing and thinking it's not enough, and now there's the overactioning. If you have too many things between you and your result, which could be anything, right? Real connection, steady alignment with yourself, your health, your relationship with your spouse, getting better behavior from a child. Maybe you really want to be in good standing with your team or your boss, right? Whatever it is for you. I need you to listen up here, because overaction is also from scarcity. How many things are between you and having that result? Is it like a really, really long list? If you have a really long list that has to happen before you can get there, long meaning if you have 4 to 5 things, it's probably okay. But if you have over that, it's way too much. If you are a huge corporate thing, maybe you have more, but at a smaller level, I don't think it should be more than a couple or a few. If you are jumping onto people at any sight of them being willing, like they are water and you are in a desert, and then it's way too much. If they walk into a room and you jump all over them because you need them to do stuff, you need them to line up, you need them to do this thing, or if you jump all over them because of what they didn't do and how ornery they are and how they're showing up and you want to be super critical of them, it's just overwhelming. It's too much. It's not going to get you there. So if you overdo anything, then that also doesn't get you there. It's some sort of like, I need you to be okay and I need you to do this thing or I'm not okay. All right. If they come asking you for help, they come talk to you and you're loving the connectedness and you just give them a little refreshing splash of information and direction and connection and guidance, that's great. But if you're spawning in a way that requires that single moment to make all of the efforts from now on be okay, you're opening up a fire hose on them, and that will scare them away. It will prevent future connections, and it will just be too much to jump all over that. That energy is overreactive. It feels desperate. It doesn't get to peace very quickly. It means you think you can get there with this one action and never have to struggle again. And that's way too needy. You're doing too much for your spouse. If you're doing too much for your child or your team, you'll ensure that they never become capable of doing it themselves. That is overactioning as well. And that's from scarcity. If your biggest complaint is that they're not capable of doing things on their own, then you take into consideration, like, how much am I doing for them? And am I robbing them of their experience of having the change and working that muscle so they do get stronger in that area? Another example would be someone texts you a small thing and you send, okay. Another example of scarcity is someone texting you a small thing and you texting them back a novel and you keep sending them information for days. Or you work out for the first time for more than an hour with the heaviest weights you can possibly lift to really make a difference. And you make yourself unnecessarily sore. And we're scaring people off and we're making ourselves sore. It's just not needed. Again, the small things that add up over time, humans can and do progress and adapt, but it's very, very slowly. What is right for one person may not be the same for another. And what pace is good for someone may not be the same for another. Okay, so if we can do too little and we can do too much, let's talk about what a Goldilocks zone is and where the right, quote unquote, right place to be would be, and how your life can just be sufficient, which is just good enough. I'm living in sufficiency, right? This is what you become when you decide to work with me. Good enough happens in every moment. And our brains try to convince us otherwise. In every single moment, all day. Everything that's happening is good enough. Now, you can decide at any moment to do better as well. And that's what we talk about. But having it be good enough can build on itself to the point you have less pain. You have less energy drain. You get where you wanted more effortlessly. You work with where you are. You work with others and right how they are. We can have more influence and growth at a steadier pace instead of going in and out of pain, up and down and back and forth in a tug of war, and no one wins. Right? I wrote some things down for what it looks like from doing things in a sufficient place. When you join us and come into the UndoRedo process where we have some unlearning and some relearning of things, I want to talk you through what it looks like and what it sounds like from the start to the finish, and what you come in with these types of ideas and tendencies, and then you end up with a whole different type of thoughts and tendencies and way of living. So this is who you learn to be when you join us. It's kind of like a manifesto. I show up every day as the leader that I am in my own life and in the lives of those I oversee. My actions align with my values, and I am committed to having an authentic connection with those around me, including myself. I impact and influence people in ways that lift everyone. I make decisions based on the bigger picture and never stop improving. How I think and how I respond to everyone, including myself, is the bigger picture. I make connections with those who are ready, and it's a good fit for us both. In this, I never need to use force. I follow appropriate boundaries throughout this whole process, and I never implement a boundary that needs other people to change who they are. My enthusiasm for life can be felt because I can manage my negative thoughts and emotions while not losing myself to them. I can come back after moments of disengagement even stronger. I know what and where when I feel disconnected. I'm committed to learning from it and have a plan moving forward that gets me to the other side of it with some practice and guidance. I guide others to do the same once I know how. I know it's up to me to maintain my side of the connection, and I take radical ownership of that. My example of implementing this will speak volumes and end in collaborations, cooperation, unity, and understanding for everyone involved. I don't chase after people. I let them choose. I honor their agency. I hold space for them to experience all things and express all things, even their negative emotions, while I manage mine. It's true, right? If we have sufficiency, when we feel sufficient, then whatever happens, we are okay. Nothing is so scary. So ignoring and pushing away, which most people do so often, not being able to roll with it, that resistance, we create it by choosing it. But when we can learn to roll with it and we lean into our authenticity, we trust who we are, we trust our ability, which our abilities make communication easier. It makes our communication more clear. We make decisions. We can tweak those decisions once they're made if we see that it needs to be tweaked. We trust ourselves to do that. We stay in our confidence the whole time because we can lead really well from there. So from sufficiency rather than scarcity, we need a specific process that takes us step by step. It puts your brain to work and it uses your desires. You get curious and you have positive leaning belief in you changing and in other people's ability to change. Believing that you can lead them, you address concerns, you iron out whatever may be difficult for you and what objections you may have, and you iron out whatever may be difficult for them and lead them through it and what objections they may have. What stands in their way and makes it most difficult for them, you can be attuned to, and you can guide them through that to the other side. All of this, even when it feels difficult for you, is possible. You can create sufficiency. You can lose the attachment to an outcome. You can lose your agendas. So often resistance gets amped up every time we realize, like, oh no, I'm negative. I better hurry and be positive. Our resistance gets amped up. It doesn't lessen. We want to be in that medium Goldilocks zone. What we do instead is we create these little containers and these little pockets for sufficiency, because at first you're not able to hold it. But you can have it off again and on again and kind of try it on and see how it goes, like working out in the gym and building those muscles. That's what makes the magic in life happen for yourself and for others. Do you want to be miserable the whole time you're together? No. You want to find a way to have fun. Give hope. You can find okayness in any situation that's happening, which helps others take your lead and they can be okay as well. It's a process to get to this point, and I have a whole system in place that really keeps it simple. So if you don't know how to get ahead of yourself in your responses, you'll feel behind. You'll feel like you can't catch up. You'll feel like you're missing the moments and that you could have done things better, and you're always behind the game. It becomes unorganized, and you'll see it as not enough because you can't get to the front side of what you're doing instead of being on the tail end of what's happening. When you're engaging with yourself, when you're engaging with people. And the only difference is you just haven't been observing yourself. You haven't been dissecting your thoughts and emotions and the actions that you're taking most often, or too little. If you're spending a large amount of time feeling some version of it not being enough, join the UndoRedo process, because the number one thing that's keeping you in not having enough isn't what you think it is. It's literally how you're thinking when you're planning it, how you're thinking when you're communicating, how you tackle the tasks, how you oversee things that need to be done daily. It's the amount of fight or flight you're having. It's the amount of value you're outputting and the amount of effort you're putting in. The difference between the thought of I need something from you, which feels attached and desperate, versus the thought I have time to give you and I will show you. That's the difference. So if you're experiencing insufficiency in managing others or yourself, you have got to try this out. You could be creating so many opportunities in so many situations. Have your people show up and do the things that need to be done, having the energy to choose it, and everyone thinking that that is good enough. And living in sufficiency feels like so much peace. That is the Goldilocks zone. Creating so many opportunities in so many situations to have your people show up, including yourself, and do the things that need to be done with a higher amount of energy. And it will be good enough, even when it's not perfect. And everyone will stay in the flow because it feels so nice. Nobody has to write each other's case or force anybody to do anything. There's not a tug of war involved. You can have so much energy and enthusiasm in this vision that they will come. They will join you. You have first got to get your emotional world under control, undo some things and redo some things with your own actions and your own behavior patterns. And you have got to get into your personal Goldilocks zone in order to invite anyone else to be sufficient. It's not as big as the roller coasters you've been on with highs and super lows. There's complete magic and love or utter disconnect and chaos in the same day. In some form or another, you are modeling everything for your people, and you're doing so much more than the average person by taking on them as well. You being a leader sets you apart. People can be parents, they can keep kids alive and not ever come into truly leading and guiding their kids and leading their home into greater ways of being. So in what ways is not enough or too much in your life? Let's get you into sufficiency. Let's get you into sufficiency and understanding what the Goldilocks zone looks like and how to maintain that more often so you can invite people to that space with you. And if you thought of somebody while listening to this, please share it with them, because that's how the heavens reach us, and it offers us change and growth through each other. That's what I have for you today. I love you all, and I'll talk to you all again soon. Bye.